Hello and welcome to Love Revolution. I'm your host, Mia Sines. And with me in this segment is Suzanne McQueen. And I met Suzanne McQueen not too long ago, probably less than a year ago. And I had her on a series. So I was so excited to bring her to you because I loved personally what I heard her talk about. And she's the author of 4 Seasons, 4 Weeks, and she's going to share about that. She talks about what I get from Suzanne is this beautiful love for women and how our bodies operate and feel and just the love that we have for ourselves. So not only is it self-love, but it's body love, it's me love, it's goddess love, and I'm really talking about her more than almost everybody else, as you'll see, but I'm really taken with her, and I love one of the free gifts that she's going to give you, I think. I'm pushing it all of a sudden. We were just talking about that. I think that what she has is spectacular. So remember to grab, if you need to pause here, get your drinks, relax, get your notepads and pens, and then come back and join us. And do your breathing to get centered. We're not going to do all that here, but just take care of your little steps before you join us and then come on back. So I'm now turning it over to Suzanne. So here you go, Suzanne. Thank you.
Thanks, Mia. It always is so fun to connect with you. And we connected on one of the summits that you had, and then just through email. And I'm so excited about working with you and look forward to more. You've got so many great things going on in the world. And, at this point, for all of us in all this work we're doing, there are so many people online doing so many things. And I'm learning now that I'm having to really sort of hone who I'm working with, who I'm in alignment with, because this work of ours is so sacred. And I hate to overuse that term because it can get overused, but I really see us working together for a very long time in many different ways. And I just love everything that you're creating in the world. You are such a wow, you are building so many beautiful things for women. I'm just so inspired by your magazine and these summits that you do and these interviews. I mean, you're just such a joy and so heartfelt to talk with. So anyway, I just had to throw that in to just start out, especially yeah, especially since our topic is self-love, and it's so nice to be around other people who are growing and doing their best to embody that. It's not an easy thing to embody. It's an easy thing to talk about. It's an easy thing to give lip service to. But when it really comes down to it, sometimes we're the last ones that we actually give love to, especially as women. We are so busy loving on everyone else, taking care of everyone else's needs, and really not taking that time to take care of ourselves. And I just got done doing a survey with women and asking them what was the biggest challenge that they had, the single biggest challenge that they had as a woman. And there were 3 things, but the number one thing was overwhelm. Overwhelm with taking care of everybody else and doing everything for everyone else more than themselves. So I'd like to be able to address that with the work that I do, because the work that I do in 4 Seasons and 4 Weeks is really about finding a way to really love our female bodies rather than loathe them, and specifically our hormonal cycle, specifically our lunar sequence. Because what I keep telling women is that we don't have mood swings. We're lunar rhythmic. And this is a really important distinction, because society for so long has been telling us that we are crazy, that we have these mood swings, that we change our minds all the time, that we're bitches or we're a threat to be around. And this is just so not okay. It's so not true. That's the thing. That's the biggest thing, is it's so not true. And it's not true because we've been operating under this system that is not the female way. We lost that a long time ago. So 4 Seasons and 4 Weeks is really about tapping into the primal wisdom of our female monthly hormones, whether you're cycling or not. What I've ended up sort of decoding, I guess, is a 28-day female body clock. And in this 28-day female body clock, we have 4 different phases, and I liken it to the 24-hour body clock. As men and women, all of us, we have a 24-hour body clock, a circadian rhythm. This is proven. It was proven back in the 50s. Science accepts that, and nobody argues with that. But within that 24-hour circadian rhythm, and like every other rhythm in the universe, there's a resting phase, a building phase, an expressing phase, and a deconstructing phase, and back to rest. And when we tap into that, we make rhythmic decisions. So for instance, in that 24-hour body clock that we all have, when we sleep at night, that's the resting phase, right? We're rejuvenating. Our bodies are rebooting. In the morning when we get up and we're gearing up for the day, that's the building phase. And we have, we start really, we feel well rested, hopefully. We start planning for the day. At some point during the middle, so that's the building phase. At some point during the middle of the day, we hit our stride and we're just going. We wouldn't even think of going back to sleep. We're in our full energy, our fullest expression. So that's the expressing phase. And then at some point we get tired, and that's our deconstructing phase, and then it's back to rest. And in a 24-hour body clock, we may do that 2 or 3 times during the day if we take a nap or whatever. But either way, we're going through that cycle, and we make different decisions throughout the day. We are rhythmic thinkers. Our body is wired, our human bodies are wired for balance and comfort. It's a survival mechanism. We have this level in there that wants balance. So we're always making decisions on what's going to make us feel the best. And one rhythmic decision might be having coffee in the afternoon when we don't have time to take a nap, and we don't really want to, but we have some coffee to give a little pick-me-up for some balance. It's not necessarily always the healthiest thing to do. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. That's not the point. The point is that we make decisions all the time. Or maybe the rhythmic decision is to take a nap, if we can. We do a siesta if possible, something like that. Those are rhythmic decisions. Women have those same 4 phases within a month's time, within their hormonal blueprint. And so I call it a 28-day female body clock. And it's not something we've been taught. It's not something our mothers were taught, or our grandmothers, or our great-grandmothers even. But it is something that our ancestors used to know and feel when they walked by the light of the moon. When they walked by the light of the moon, that was before artificial lighting came in and sort of screwed up our signals. So indigenous ancestors, especially, who were nomadic, or they move in summer and winter and that kind of thing, they understood. First of all, that's a rhythmic decision right there. Getting up and moving your teepee, or whatever it is, your tent, you're moving that into better weather conditions, depending on, birds do it all the time. They go north or they go south, depending on, whatever the rhythm is, for comfort and for all the cycles that have to happen. But it's really kind of a crime that we women have not learned then that we even have this lunar rhythm, that we even have these 4 phases. We've been in a patriarchy for so long of having to be the same as the men, really do the male rhythm, which is really more of a solar rhythm, that we don't even recognize that we have these patterns. Or we might recognize that we have these patterns, but we have no idea what to do with them. And again, society keeps telling us that we're just crazy. And we've had no choice but to sort of accept that over time. And when I hear the girls, the teenagers, really buying into that as well, calling each other names. Mm-hmm. Thank you. We were both fumbling a little earlier, so we talked about hopefully that wouldn't continue. Anyhow, when I hear these girls, I just think, all of us really need to really understand this 28-day female body clock. And I believe it needs to happen with the adult women first, the women who have already experienced this and know that this does not make them feel well. And then via the women who are on these summits and really hearing this, through the women, the girls are going to learn this, and the men are going to learn this. And I will write books for them. I've got a girls thing in the making. But first, it really comes down to the women. And when the women understand that they are lunar rhythmic within this monthly cycle, you can take approximate 28 days. I know women cycle all different amount of days, but let's take 28 because that's just sort of the standard. Take that, divide it into 4 weeks. let's say each week has 7 days in it. That first week, the hormonal, the scientific landscape just maps it out for us. It's very, very easy. There's no mystery around this thing. That's what's so amazing, is that, there's really no mystery. What we've got is cycling women would start tracking on the first day of their period. And so that first week, when they're on their period, the hormones are at their lowest. So it tells us we need to lay low. The symbolism of that, but also the energy of that. When we are shedding the former uterine linings cycle, it's really, the first week is really sort of the end of the former cycle. But anyway, during that week, we really need to be resting. It doesn't mean that we can't go to work. It doesn't even mean that you can't run that marathon, whatever you've got scheduled. We can bring in tools for balance and comfort there. But what this means is that it's crucial for women to really rest during this time, make mindful decisions, go to work, but then after that, go home, lay on the couch, read books, even at work. Try to make mindful decisions about how you're using your energy and that kind of thing. You want to go to bed a little earlier. Give yourself a little more time to sleep, because when women aren't sleeping, which they're not resting enough. When women aren't resting, it's no different than any of us not sleeping at night. And if you don't sleep at night, it starts screwing up your days after a while. When women aren't resting during this first week, it's really messing up their whole month. If it's a non-cycling woman, I have her start tracking on the new moon. And this would be your self-care week. So for all of us, that first week, whether it's the first week of your period, that would be your new moon phase, but it might not align with what's actually happening in the sky. But for non-cycling women, start with the new moon. And that first week is your resting phase. It's your self-care phase. Take more bubble baths. Lounge around a little bit more, do those kinds of things. The second week is the building phase in the female cycle blueprint. And I call it the blueprint because the manifestation of these 4 phases happens with the cycling woman. It happens with what I call the blood givers, okay? A cycling woman during that second week is building that uterine lining, and that building that uterine lining means that the body is preparing for a pregnancy, and then the eggs are maturing, getting ready for ovulation. During that building phase, you are scientifically building in beauty. It's a proven fact. You are growing in beauty because primally your body is trying to attract a mate. Your reproductive body is trying to attract a mate. Whether that's a good idea or not, that's what our minds are for. But our primal body, our womb wisdom, has us ready and capable if we decide that that's a good idea. So during this time, we're building an attraction. We are both putting out light and we are attracting it. So we are attracting clients. We love everyone. We are sexually intoxicated. We have to be mindful around this because we can make so many things happen during this week. This is like the waxing moon. It's where it's growing towards the full moon. It's growing in light. It's becoming the light. You're becoming the light in this way. You're filling with light. And, the self-love thing is really about being the light. If we really can fill ourselves with that self-love, then others around us will feel it too. We're so capable of being these beacons of light. So this is a time when we really are growing in light. Mia, this is where I see you so much. I see you as being the essence of this week, of just because you're just building these amazing things for everyone, for all these women. You're building so many things, and you're actually taking action on them. You're actually doing them, which is inspirational to me because I talk about, I keep trying to build all these things, and then I get a little overwhelmed with all these projects that I have going on, but you actually take the action and make them happen. So that's really inspirational to me. So we can make these things, happen during this week and really start making things happen for ourselves, building our lives. In the third week, the first day of that is likened to the full moon. It's ovulation. And ovulation is, we are at our most magnificent. There's really nothing more magnificent in the universe than a woman who is ovulating. I mean, this is perfect earth spirit alignment. What I ended up discovering or really seeing is that there really is nothing more primal or primordial than the possibility when you think about a sperm and an egg coming together. I mean, that is super primordial stuff there. That is so earth. And then you've got the possibility of creation. Again, whether that's a good idea or not is a different issue. But the capability of possibly coming together in creation is the most spiritual thing that can possibly happen in the universe. So you've got this perfect earth spirit alignment here. This is the time that we have the opportunity, we have the chance to really be mindful during this phase, during this time, to say, who am I showing up as? Who am I stepping in? Who am I showing up as far as in my magnificence? What is my authenticity? Am I telling the truth? It's the moment of truth to really step forward in your fullest expression. So while all these things are going on underneath the surface, while all these hormones are doing their thing, we have such an opportunity to use the fuel of those hormones to really step into showing what we do love about ourselves and start letting go of what doesn't work very much, what doesn't work well anymore. May have served us in the past, it may never have served us. We may be stepping forward in the world with things that our parents taught us, which may or may not be a good idea. I mean, our parents did the best that they could. I mean, no matter how screwed up your family is, somewhere along the line, everybody was probably doing the best that they could. But now, as a big girl, we all have the chance to really make it ours, to really take a look at what we've learned and glean the good things. Ask ourselves, what is going right in my life? And then, just keep focusing on what is going right. And when we just keep focusing on what is going right, the stuff that's not going well starts sloughing away. I don't even think we have to work on that very hard. We can do some releasing. We've got some ways to get rid of blocks. There are so many healers out there that can help us get rid of things like that. But really, if we can just every day ask ourselves what's going right, that is something that we start building. And we can keep stepping into that every month, and especially looking at this time, this ovulation time, this magnificence. After ovulation is finished, you're still in that third phase because your body primally doesn't know whether you're pregnant or not. And it takes another 5 or 6 days. If there is conception, if there is a fertilized egg, it takes a while for that little wad to travel to the uterine wall and attach itself to establish whether there's a pregnancy or not. In the meantime, you're just high on your throne. You're still kind of up there, in this afterglow. I mean, really, you are goddess, you are queen, you are just, this is such a balanced time to be making your very best decisions. You're world leader here, world mother. And it's really vital that you get out, and this is the time to really be stepping into your medicine for the planet. It's crucial. And once your body figures out that it's not pregnant, then that means that you have to lose that uterine lining. You have to lose that uterine lining. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Wow, that was a little tough. Anyway, you have to lose your feel-good drugs. What happens is now you've gone into the fourth phase. That's the deconstructing phase. So what that means is that your estrogen has already started to drop. Now your progesterone has to go, and that's a really great feel-good drug. But what happens is it has to it has to drop in order to shed that lining in that resting phase, which is the following week. It has to prepare it. It's almost like a little mini labor preparing for a birth. So everything has to break down. And as it's breaking down, your uterine lining is breaking down and getting into position. So much is trying to work its way out that too much stimulation coming in is just too much. So what you want to, you're really in survival mode here. You're hanging on to all your values and principles, but you also have to shed what no longer serves you. So I call this the fire walk. I get rid of the idea of PMS altogether. I just totally reject that. It's ridiculous. It's not a syndrome. This is an amazing ceremonial time. I love this week. And it's the week that women for sure have the hardest time in. But once you start understanding how one week prepares for the next, and once you start understanding how amazing this particular week is and the gifts that come from it, that self-care, you know which tools to bring in to help you during this week and to And then to make it to the end of that, you're now more internal. It's like the waning moon, and then you're back to the new moon phase or the resting phase. And that's it on that. When you see, we don't have a lot of time to go into much more of it, but when you start understanding that each week is important, that each week brings things to you that prepare for the next, it's so easy to start loving rather than loathing your female cycle blueprint. It's so easy to start loving post-menopause because you still have those 4 phases. More subtle, yes, but those patterns are still there if you follow those same exercises while following the moon phase.
I love that.
So I would say, really start feeling it. Just start feeling it. And I'm here to help you with that if you like.
That's awesome. I have a question. So you were saying for women who are, those, I'll just say it. I hit perimenopause, which simply means that it's starting. Yeah. And it can go on for a month, and it can go on for 5 years, meaning that it comes and goes or whatever. Right. So, I don't know what stage I'm actually in. I just started. So, so this fascinates me. So, would I start on the new moon if I wasn't having a cycle, and then I would go through to the next new moon, normally? Okay, cool.
Perimenopause is the hardest for sure. Perimenopause is what will happen is that as more women practice this system, once girls learn it and once the full-on cycling women learn it, when they go into perimenopause, now they'll be able to feel what phase they're in because their cycle is all screwed up. What happens in perimenopause is that, you could end up ovulating twice. Everything starts being very off schedule, so it's hard to follow the sequence in the same way. But you can feel, if you've practiced it long enough, you can feel which phase you're in. But since most women are just starting to get the hang of this, not just my work, but there's other work out there that breaks the cycle down in similar ways. And more women are starting to really learn that. But because of that, the ones that are in perimenopause right now, there's nothing to go from to really start feeling what those phases are. So if you still have a period, I would say start there as your day 1, and then just go with that. Do the best you can in doing 4 phases. And if your next period doesn't come on for a really long time, count how many days that was. And then start again. You just have to do the best that you can with it. If you're not cycling at all, start on the new moon and just start doing that self-care. I have found that I've had some women who are way all over the place, all over the board, practice it anyway. And some women who are on an IUD will sometimes experience that or not a period at all. So I'll have them just do the new moon thing. They practice those 4 phases, whether they feel anything or not. They practice that, and pretty soon now all of a sudden they become regular. And but I would say that's for sure the toughest one.
So if I always had my cycle, say around the 19th of the month, should I start there or should I start on the new moon?
No, start on the first day of your period.
Okay, because
it's your moon phase, it's your lunar phase. If we all cycled by the light of the moon, as our ancestors supposedly did, then we would be cycling. We'd start with the new moon probably, and that's when our periods would start. Some women were opposite, but that would coincide more. But each woman who's cycling has their own moon, their own lunar cycle, really. Yeah.
Depending on if we're from Venus or Mars. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. Depending on which planet you are from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. It's funny. It's something that I never thought would ever happen to me,
I know.
And then when I missed a couple in a row, I was like, what?
Yeah. What? I had this crazy thing happen where everything was going fine, and I finished one period, and about 2 weeks into it or something, I'm walking around with my family at the Santa Cruz boardwalk, and I'm wearing white shorts, of course. However, thank goodness I had a sweatshirt wrapped, tied around my waist, like a navy blue sweatshirt or something. And I just felt this gush. Like major. And I couldn't believe, and I just knew, I just knew I had to get to the bathroom really fast,
Yeah.
and I get there, and this is just a disaster, and anyway, one thing leads to another. I could go out to my car, get more pants because we were traveling, and switch. I just had to throw them away. Whoever found those in the trash can probably thought somebody died, but it was so crazy, and I just thought that was it. I thought that must be my last period ever or something, and it wasn't, but it was sort of the beginning of all of that. So don't wear white pants when you think you're going into perimenopause. Don't wear white pants for 5 years or whatever it is. I don't know, but that was that was disturbing. It was I was really sort of traumatized after that for a while because it was so unexpected, and I just wasn't sure what was happening, but it didn't happen like that again.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the end.
And young girls experience that when they're I remember my sister and I were at Disneyland and that happened to her.
Oh.
And she was wearing white shorts, I think it was. And so I actually took them and cleaned them under the sink. And then I think that the blowers had just come in.
Yeah, the blowers.
So, yeah, exactly. And so I blew her pants and then handed them back over into the
restroom. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's this is the kind of stuff where the self-love thing we're challenged by because we're so vulnerable. This is not an easy thing to walk the world with, these female bodies of ours. And women really need to be given a lot of respect and honored. It really need to be honored for that. It's such a major deal, and it's I just think that we really, especially if nothing else, we need to have compassion for our sisters, for each other. We really need for women to stop criticizing each other so much, or calling each other names around all of this, because we're not all that tough. We really want our tribe. We want our people. We want people around us to be kind. And this is something that's hard, and each woman sort of carries this with her very privately, and not really knowing what to do.
Very privately. When you think about the millions upon millions of women, we don't normally see somebody bleeding by mistake. I mean, we're very honoring of ourselves to protect ourselves. And it kind of goes back to the red tent when you think about it, because, in the red tent, the younger ones would go and honor the older women as they would go through their cycle and so forth and so on. But in this cycle, we're almost trained at a young age. Actually, it's really strange. I just thought of that. We're trained at a young age not to actually honor ourselves like they did in the red tent, because we don't talk about it very much. We hide it. We keep ourselves really clean. Wow. Things have changed. It starts
very young. Things have changed. And the one thing that I would like to see, I do see there's a lot of different red tent movements out there. I would like to see the red tent movement stay within the realm of self-care and caring for each other, really realizing that this really is just the first phase. I do see some red tent movements out there who are trying to bunch it all together, our whole cycle into one. Okay, like really, you're really sexy, and you're really this, and you're really beautiful, all of this, when really that's not the way that I understand red tent or moon lodges to be. This is the time when it's not about being really sexy or anything. This is really a time of honor for our womanhood, and again, caring for each other. And we've got these other phases to, get into all the other stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because I see that because we still have a tendency to just divide out the whole cycle. Okay, it's either the period or PMS, and maybe there's ovulation, and that's about, only if you've got some fertility challenges, then you care about that. I mean, it's kind of messed up even in that sense. So I would like to see us really understanding that the entire cycle, we're cycling. The entire cycle has, value, especially that second week when we don't feel like anything bad is happening. We think everything's, we're done with our period, so we're happy and everything's fine. But there's major stuff going on there to be mindful about. So, and the third week as well. So I just really want to put that out there, that I'd really like to see that red tent time or that moon lodge time really be the sacred time, the sacred time that we do care for each other, whether we're creating it for ourselves or helping our sisters out. But helping our sisters out during that time is especially helpful. And then giving information, helping each other out with information that's needed and passing that down, passing it to each other and down to the ones younger than us.
You know, it'd also be really amazing is just make your girlfriends like some soup or something amazing and just drop it off. And
Oh,
you
beautiful.
know, I mean, it's as simple as that because we don't have to get into the whole talk about it even, but just about the honoring of, you know, I know that this is a tiring time here.
Yeah. Beautiful. What a great idea.
And if we all did
Excellent.
that for each other and thought of it more as an honoring of sisterhood, it can be the modernized version of what would naturally be happening in this world. And I don't want to say expected, but really we should be honoring each other in that way a lot more. And we don't. You know, we just we close the door because of modern society, and everyone then has to feel unsupported by themselves.
And just isolated.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
great idea.
this was a fun little chat. Good.
Yeah.
Would you like to share your free gift with us?
Sure. What I'd like for everyone on the on this online retreat to do is go to my website, and there you can get a free downloadable quick reference poster that maps out these 4 phases. And also there'll be a link on there to receive what I call the 13 days, 13 archetypes. And because I have archetypes throughout this book, I've got 3 per week, so that's 12 plus a 13th sort of surprise in there. And these are digital cards that will come to you every day that are really beautiful, and they describe these archetypes. I just love them. I would like to gift that to everyone. There'll be a link on there for you. And then another way that you can do this work is I have a 6-month online course coming up in October. I will have so many guest speakers on there. Mia is going to be one. She just doesn't know it yet. But I'll be recording her soon. Yeah, good. I know exactly where she'll go in here. And we'll be going through the sequence of the cycle and the tools to bring in, the power behind it. And I'll have many, many speakers on this course as well, besides having this be a sisterhood where you're tracking your cycle with other sisters. And I'll be teaching throughout. So there's that. And then I also do one-on-one coaching for... I just work with a handful of women who really want to, who can financially invest in themselves to get some one-on-one help. Whether you're, because a lot of women too, what I find is some of the women who are executives, or they're in a high-powered position perhaps, but they can't be quite as public with this stuff, or talking to other people, whether it's this or whatever it is. And so I work with them privately as well. And if you'd like to have a free discovery session for that, I'd like to offer you that as well. And you can reach me through 4s4w.com, which is 4seasons4weeks.com.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This flew by so fast.
It did. Yeah.
It was awesome to have you on. I appreciate it. Would you like to, you've given us so much, but would you like to share one last thought with us?
One last thought would be, again, back to my mantra is you do not have mood swings, you are lunar rhythmic. And just keep that in mind the next time that you feel like you're not understanding what is going on with you, or why you feel this way one day and this other way another day. Just know that there's a rhyme and a reason, and you can learn how to surf that sequence of your cycle really easily with grace and skill.
That's awesome. I love that. Wonderful. Thank you, Suzanne, for joining us. It was great.
Thank you, Mia.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Yeah, nice to see you.
Thank you. And thank you all. We'll see you in another segment.